Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. And today, a few questions in the videos from earlier in the week have brought me to think about sharing a little bit more about my journey to natural bodybuilding and ultimately um, winning the NANBF Mr. USA and then becoming a WNBF Pro. But I wanted to talk about my journey and please, uh, really my journey into um, overtraining, training for many, many years. I mean, many years doing excess volume, excess days per week. I mean, I'm going to go into some details here that will maybe sort of, I don't know. I hope it helps someone. So I started lifting weights really when I was about, well, really young, when I was playing baseball. But then after I decided that I was going to go ahead and just focus on my college, I started really lifting weights to get involved in natural bodybuilding. I knew I did not want to use any sort of performance enhancing drug, and that was just my decision. I just felt like if I couldn't do it the right naturally, and I couldn't do it with good nutrition and training, that I wasn't going to do it. But I fell in love with strength training and the way it made me feel. It was a great thing, to feel your body changing and getting stronger. I just was amazed by that. And I was probably really about 19 at this point, 19, 20 years old. And I just really enjoyed the whole process. I started reading everything I could get my hands on. I know I've shared that with you guys. Um, and you know trying various routines that were in magazines, which was really, that was all that was available in the magazines, and some books. There was some materials being printed, um, and very quickly I thought, well, more is better. If I could exercise more. um, I started exercising 2 times a day, 6 days a week. The workouts were they were about an hour each. And so, that's 12 hours of exercise. At that time, I was willing to pay whatever price I needed to pay to excel. And I thought more work is better, right? More is better. And so I wanted to move up the ranks, win competitions. I really felt, uh, you know, that was just part of my personality. It was just part of who I was. Um, and so I thought more is better, more is better. So I started this pathway of training at least 2 times a day, 6 days a week. I'd exercise everything anywhere from 6 times a week, every muscle group, to 3 or 4 times a week over various splits. And there were also times during those early years, my early 20s, mid 20s even, where I strength trained, believe it or not, 3 times a day, 6 days a week. And I sacrificed everything. I I really, to a large degree, was not able to perform as well as I could in my academics. Though I did enjoy academics, I sacrificed friendships, time with friends, time with good friends, actually. But a lot of them understood the sacrifices that I made, and really, I guess, sort of, uh, you know, understood that was just part of it. But I did that. I would say, I did that kind of training 6 days a week, 2 to 3 times a day was the average. So it's 12 to 18 workouts a week. I did that from, I'd say, the time I was 20, for the most part, till I was in my late 20s, to 27, 28. So you can imagine the sacrifice. Get up early, 5 or 6 in the morning, lift weights, take a few hour break, lift weights around noon, then uh, take a few hours break sometimes and lift weights in the evening. If I were just doing twice a day, I would lift weights a lot of times early in the morning and then around noon again. Um, and what I noticed was, though I was doing pretty well in some competitions, I wasn't really improving. And if anything, I was regressing at times. So, to my answer would be to do more exercise. I was competing against very at times guys with very good genetics. And but anyway, I noticed I wasn't improving, and I was actually experiencing what we know now as overreaching and overtraining. I was getting sick quite frequently. In fact, anytime there was a cold virus around, or flu or anything, I mean, I would get it. I would get sick. Um, and so, again, so you're looking at 6 or 7 years of really nonstop commitment. I mean, that was it. That was when I thought, if I want to be one of the best in the world at something, this is what's necessary. And so some good friends of mine started, saying, hey, here's what some other people are doing. They're training less, um, training 3, 4, 5 days a week, just once a day, and maybe training things a lot less frequently. And so I tried that for a period of time. And I noticed, yeah, it did improve, make some changes, in as far as my improvement. Um, but I'd always sort of go back, right, to exercising more because for some reason I felt this, mental, and I think it was a psychological problem. Really was really that I felt like I needed to exercise um, that much. So I would say I got into my late 20s and I really committed. At this point, I'd been competing 9, 10 years, and really sort of stagnant, not quite where I wanted to be, though moderately successful. I graduated college, started a teaching career, teaching in the public schools. And so I really was kind of forced at that point to exercise, strength train less. And so I did immediately start seeing some dramatic improvements in my physique, in my progress, in my health. I had more energy to do other things. I could hang out with friends more. And I really started enjoying the balance of that. I remained competing. There were times where I took a year or 2 or 3 off, actually. But then I started really getting into competing again and making a run at winning my WNBF Pro card. And so I at that point I started absolutely realizing the fact that I was overtraining those 8 or 9 years, um, and I was really stalling all of my progress. Um, so in my mid 30s, I improved, dramatically by cutting the training volume back significantly. The year I won the USA, I trained for a couple of years for that, really 2 to 3 years for that. During most of that off season, I was strength training 3 days per week. Um, on a various types of split routine, sometimes an A-B routine, sometimes an A-B and a C routine where you split the body 3 ways, but various much probably a quarter of the training volume or strength training time um, that I was spending during those early years. So I did go on to win the Mr. USA in Chicago, the NANBF under Dave Yates promotion, win my WNBF pro card. The next year I competed, I was probably in my mid 30s at that point. I had some injuries for a number of years. I knew that it was coming to an end, or at least it probably needed to. I was ready to move on with the rest of my life. I was ready to move on. I achieved what I wanted to achieve. Again, training, competing for basically most part of 15 years. Um, but But anyway, so I went ahead and competed as a pro, and it really achieved my greatest condition as when I turned pro and competed as a pro against some fantastic genetics, people that were much more genetically gifted than I was. But I was training for most of that whole season, 3 days a week, doing cardio on the other days. Again, much less training volume. I had much more lean mass than I had ever had. Again, in my mid 30s, been training, competing for those 15 years. But my whole point to this whole discussion is, um, and I guess some of the comments on the YouTube channel uh, great comments. I do appreciate them. Is we can't really go back, and we didn't have the information available to us today, and I'm thankful for early authors that wrote about training less. And there's a number of them, and there's some really pioneers in our field. But um, you can't get your time back, and really 6 to 8 years of training, 6 days a week, 2 times a day, a lot of times 3 times a day. And some of my friends that view this video, please comment in the comments below. And I love you all. You guys are great friends and have been with me through thick and thin and through the hard times. But I wish my older self today could go back and talk to my younger me. So I'm just being transparent with you guys. I wish I could go back and learn or have known that more was just more. More would have not excelled me any faster in in the field of human performance, natural bodybuilding, any field. Um, the important aspect of training is recovery, and I don't have all the answers to you as someone that has done research. I have a PhD, and this is the area that I continue to work in and research. Um, yes, exercise volume is a driver for muscle hypertrophy and strength. Absolutely. We'd be foolish to say that that was not true. But what I will say is, I do believe you can get fantastic gains in strength and lean tissue mass training with much less volume. And you just don't get that time back. Those 6 to 8 years, I sacrificed a lot of things. Just like a lot of athletes during that time frame have done and do, and certainly that's commendable. And I appreciate the discipline that I learned uh, during those years because it served me well in my work. Getting my PhD. Getting my PhD was nothing compared. I mean, it was hard and stressful, but there was nothing compared to competing in natural bodybuilding. To diet for a year or 6 months and then to really train for a couple years. I mean, it was a level of discipline that I'm thankful I went through. But my lesson to you is there are ways to strength train and do much less and get, at minimum, the same result and probably a greater result in the long run. Because your time is the most important thing that you have. Your time. Those 8 years, I was young. I sacrificed a lot, I'm not saying I regret that because I think I'm here today to be able to teach you guys and teach my kids. I hope my kids watch this video. But you certainly have to work hard in any endeavor. You have to be disciplined. You have to be consistent. You have to be willing to be disciplined. You have to be willing to do things that are not common. But with regard to strength training, there's certainly a scale that you must weigh out. If doing more is just doing more, um, then it's not of benefit, because you're limiting your capacity to recover. You're limiting your ability um, to progress, really. So anyway, those are the lessons that I want to teach you today. I've gone long on this video. I really wanted to be transparent. I think sometimes I sit and I stand behind a screen, or I'm talking to clients, and um, I don't really share my story, and I'm going to try to share more as the weeks and months pass on this channel. Um, and I guess some of it's good for me to go back and think. But again, those years and those time, it's gone. But I'm thankful that I'm here today to teach you guys about it. But if there was one lesson that I would teach again, is that less in strength training is more. Okay. And I didn't say extreme low volumes. Certainly, there's a continuum of amount needed to produce a desired response. But what I was doing was excessive, extreme, and damaging to my immune system and my body. Anyway, that's it for today. If you have questions, comments, friends, leave comments below. You guys are great. I enjoy talking with you, and talk to you all very, very soon.